Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for December 14th, 2022. It's Wednesday. It's that time of day of the week that we cross the border with our good friend and colleague, Mr. Andrew McInnis. Yes, we generally go at 1 o'clock, but what do two friends do? We talk behind stage for an hour, and then we'll come on here for a half hour. We're going to get you ready for some NHL, maybe a quick NFL peekaboo for the weekend. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Always good to be here on a Wednesday, and it's something I look forward to. It's the midpoint of the week. We'll try and find some winners. And you know what, Jeff? It's a small slate in the NHL, but sometimes I like that for our shows because you know us. We can get talking about one game for 20 minutes. I couldn't even imagine what would happen if there were 13 games today. So probably a good thing you and I have these Wednesdays together. But how are things in your lane?
Not bad at all. I guess there's a storm potentially coming on Friday. Tomorrow, I am going to take the quick trip up to stores, get my daughter home for the Christmas break, and then we'll be back to business as usual on Friday. And if it's a storm on Friday, maybe I'll sleep in the studio. How's that?
I think you're getting what we got last night, Jeff, because I'm looking outside right now and it's not looking too pretty. Well, actually, it does look kind of pretty, but not if you don't like shoveling. So that's not very fun. Or even if you have a snowplow, I don't think it's very fun. But that's what we get for living in the East Coast. And that's why those trips to Vegas or hot places are that much more fun when you leave a place and it's really, really cold. But I know in the Cape, it actually looks pretty like this. You guys get pretty good snowfall, don't you?
Well, we're right on the water. So usually what used to happen is when it would snow in Boston or Worcester, we would get rain. But weather and how the weather and has changed. Last year we got the second storm, we got 2.5 feet. And for us in the Cape, especially, they don't know how to snowplow down here. So 2.5 feet is a lot of shoveling. And then, the side roads are all bump, ice, bump. The main roads are usually clear within a day and a half. So it's, you see the kids out on the snowmobiles goofing around the what do you call it? I was going to say SUVs, sleds? Not the sleds, the motor ones. I
know what you're talking about. Snowmobiles.
Not the snowmobiles though, but they're similar to them. Not the SUVs, but they're out there bombing around in them, making messes and being stupid. And but we don't get a lot of snow. There's been a year, probably 10, 12 years ago, we got close to 100 inches, but it doesn't happen. I always say this, give us that one big storm. Let the weather people build it up. It's the next coming of Snowmageddon, and, no milk, no eggs, no bread. And the funny thing is, once you lose power and you stocked up the fridge and the freezer, well, if you don't get your power back in a day and a half, you got to throw the shit out anyways.
It's something I'll always scratch my head about. I don't understand. You go to the grocery store and people act like the world is literally about to end. And like you said, I mean, people are stocking up for stuff for their fridge, expecting not to have power 2 days later. It cracks me up. But I just got an alert there, saw that France is leading. So I'm happy to see that there in the World Cup. I know you've got a future on Argentina, right?
We gave out Argentina plus 800, and then we have Messi plus 900 to win the Golden Boot. I had saw some peek aheads, France versus Argentina. France would be a small favorite. So you know how I operate. Listen, I love to say I have the 8-1 ticket. Okay. Trust me. I'm hoping it's Morocco because there'll be 3-1 dogs, and I can literally put 2 units on Morocco and guarantee myself 6 units. If it's France, I'll be honest, I'll have at least 3.5 units on France. I'll take my 4-1 profit with pride
Mm-hmm.
and use the Messi golden boot as the cherry on top. If Argentina wins and he gets a golden boot, I'll get my 9-1 as the cherry.
That would be sweet. I hate that we're head to head though. I do have France, but yeah, I mean those golden boots are awesome. It kind of reminds me of the Conn Smythe Trophy, like in the NHL. You know, like I love betting those. And a lot of times we say at a certain point in the NHL season or when the playoffs start, hey, don't even bet this team to win. Bet this guy to win the Conn Smythe, or bet this goaltender or this player. Like last year, I mean, with the Avalanche, that was the biggest thing was, don't bet this, to bet the Conn Smythe, bet the Hart Trophy. It's cool, with MVPs and stuff like that with the Golden State Warriors. That was the big thing last year, right? Give it to
No
Steph.
doubt.
Don't
Yeah,
don't bet the Warriors, bet on Steph. And
bet on
the
stuff.
odds were way different, weren't they? Like a lot better.
Yeah, they were. I think Golden State was minus 160, and initially you were getting at least even money, if not plus 125, 140, because it made so much sense. If the Warriors are going to win, Steph had never gotten one. Steph was getting one,
Yeah.
was going to get that. And the same with the Celtics. If the Celtics win, everyone was all in on Tatum at, close to Steph odds. The second guy was Jaylen Brown at like 12, 14 to 1, and everyone after that was plus 5,000.
Yeah, so like that's what I like to do. And even with like futures across the board with different sports, like looking at even like Hart Trophy candidates or different things like that, like in the NHL, you and I can obviously touch on that more in like March or, April, those kind of months when it gets closer. But I'm telling you what, I mean, as much as like we've learned, and you always say to me when I go, to the grocery store, you go to have some fun at the restaurants or bars, they don't ask you when you're paying them how you made the money. They just want the money from you. And so it's nice to be able to look at these different avenues. Obviously, we talk about NFL, we talk about sides, totals. It's fun to mention props. And I've come on your show and given out some shots on goal props every now and then for NHL. And like you always say to me, hey, those tickets cost the exact same. But it is fun to take a look at those futures. And the golden boot, I mean, let's be honest, it's either Messi or Mbappe. I mean, it's one of those two guys. I mean, unless Morocco wins. But it's going to be Messi or Mbappe. And the funny thing is when you go into it in that matchup, if you would have taken either of those guys even before yesterday's match to win, you would have got a better price than you would have on those teams to win overall, because there was obviously still other teams involved, right?
Yes, and it's funny you say that. So I'm sitting there yesterday wondering if I need to send out an alert because you want to assume Argentina was going to win. You want to assume France is going to win. So I'm already putting the horse in front of the cart, and I'm saying, okay, if I send out an alert now, you can still get plus money on France before they played today. So if I said, okay, go put 2 units on France at plus 110 to win the World Cup, just in case. Well, what happens if Morocco stuns them? So now I have to then come back for Sunday and say, all right, put another 2 units on Morocco. And in other words, let's wait and see what happens today. Argentina wins 3-0. Messi a goal and assist. We're sitting in the catbird seat, assuming France is going to be there. And listen, you know me on Sundays. It's an action parlay.
Yeah.
Let's get ready for Monday. If I'm sitting there with a guaranteed 4 units and with Messi with a potential golden boot, well, hey, my job is done. If you want to sit there and hold it and say, I'm riding Messi, I'm riding Argentina, and you lose 2-1 in a shootout, in a penalty shot, well, don't come running to me because,
Yeah.
You had the opportunity.
Definitely. And like that's my goal this year for the NHL is to set myself up for those type of scenarios. As you know, I haven't really always been a huge future guy. I never ended up releasing the Rangers to clients, but I ended up betting it myself. Just so happened that way, and I'm looking to still release them now. I'm still going to release them, but the good news is I'm probably going to get a better price for them than I did for myself. And really, what happened was is that I bet it, and then the season started, and the odds started to change, and there were a couple of days in, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do what I used to do, and I'm either going to bet them in December or February. I think February is the best month to look at futures, and I want to build a little portfolio with Western Conference teams and Eastern Conference teams. And what I want to do is pick like a favorite or two, like a top team or two, and then a long shot or two, from each conference, and build yourself like a portfolio. So that way, when it comes down to, I think I told you this last year, Jeff, when I go to the playoffs, how I approach things, and as someone that sells picks, I could be releasing higher unit plays each day and making more money selling those. But what I do, I bet a lot on these series, the different series bets, like, each round, because you get 7 games to be correct on your wager. When these teams are playing each other in a 7-game series, why would I place a really big bet on one game? That's kind of how I see it. So when it comes down to the future bets, whether it's one round or Eastern Conference Championship or Western Conference Championship, I recommend people do it. And you hear from people, well, I don't want to tie my money up. I don't want to. Well, you know what? This is only one round, so you don't have to worry about it as much, right?
100%, and that's exactly what we do now. We used to give out pre-flops before the season started. Someone in the East, someone in the West, to win to win the East and the Cup, and vice versa. Now the way the market changes and fluctuates on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis, you don't have to tie your money up. As you said, a lot of people don't want to tie it up for a week, 10 days, never mind 6, 7, 8 months. When it gets to the playoffs, we're the same way. We will reevaluate. I mean, we had the Avs to win the West. We had the Avs to win the Cup. And unfortunately, who the Avs, brain fart here, who the Avs played? They played the Lightning,
Tampa,
right?
Tampa,
Yeah. We did not have the Lightning coming out. We had Florida or the Leafs.
The Leafs,
But we had it backed up where we profited in the playoffs, and I'm a huge series guy. An example like the Carolina versus Boston last year made 0 cents, 0 cents.
Mm-hmm.
But you take Carolina in the series, and what they do, they won the first 2 home games. Well, then what happens? The Bruins won the next 2 home games, and then what happens? It just, the home team won every game.
Yeah.
But what I really like is, let's say we have the favorite. Let's just say, for poops and giggles, the Bruins are minus 280 against Carolina this year. Well, I like the Bruins to win the series. I don't want to give a 280 price. Maybe we can put a half unit on it, because they're going to be too big of favorites at home. They win the first 2 games at home. Well, now you come back in game 3, you got a layup because you got a free swing on Carolina. If Carolina wins, you add that to the bankroll. If they lose, you're up 3-0 in the series. You just sit back and wait.
I agree. It's fun too to look at certain teams that play better at home, how much of importance the home ice advantage is to some teams versus the others. And of course, you can also take a look at betting these futures in series. I know it gets a little risky, but like, I think last year the LA Kings, did they lose game 1? I don't know if they lost game, but there's always every year a team that goes down after game 1, and you can bet on them at, like, instead of a huge favorite, at even money to win the series. And they go ahead and win game 2 at home, and all of a sudden it's a race to four wins. So it's interesting to look at it that way. I'll have to pick your brain about some NFL futures sometime, but I'm sure you want to get to some hockey for tonight.
Well, I'll tell you right now, shout out to TJ. Good afternoon, my brother. Nice effort by Stonehill against BC last night. You covered. I told you there was money coming in on them. Good job there. AFC, I'm going to tell you right now, I know we've talked since August, September. The Bills were the team. They were going to be the number 1 seed. You got to go there. It's going to be hard to beat them. And then, of course, you got Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to call me crazy or whatever. I think the best team right now in form in the AFC is the Bengals. And you can get a decent price on the Bengals right now.
It's all about peaking at the right time, isn't it? I mean, does anybody care what's going on in November?
No.
The last time I checked, doesn't matter what happened. It's about January, and obviously leading into February. I agree with you. I think what's the price on them right now?
I don't have it in front of me. I actually, you know what? I will go to my good friends at the Circa, Mr. Benson, Mr. Metcalf, and let's just see, for poops and giggles. We will go to football, and we will go AFC to start. AFC, yes. The Bengals plus 570. The Bills are plus 175, and the Chiefs are plus 212. So you can get almost 6-1 right now in the Bengals. The way it's going to shake out is most likely the Bills will play. I'm sorry, the Chiefs will play the Bengals. The winner will go to Buffalo. That's probably how it's going to shake out. So again, that was the initial thought. I was on San Fran. Jimmy G goes down now. Of course, Brock is the next coming to slice bread. Rude awakening, I think, on Thursday. First road game, short week. Seattle coming off a loss, needs that win to keep the playoff hopes alive. So as I'm hinting to everyone watching right now, go grab your +4, sprinkle a little beer and pizza on Seattle on Thursday on the money line as well.
Who doesn't love a good primetime underdog? I mean, against a young quarterback like that, off a big fun game, it seems like the play. And you know what? I bet you there's going to be people, they're going to get action on the favorite still. They're going to
100%.
Because of the talent, because of the guys that are there. Wow, he actually looked pretty good. Oh my God, this guy's not bad. And then we're going to see that. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I lost in the Seahawks, and I know that was a pretty public play. Not that that should matter that much, but they were a popular bet, and I was worried about the health of the Hurricanes, the Panthers last week, and I didn't think that they would actually get some of these guys back, and they ran the ball very, very well. I will say that you got to own your losses, right? But I have no problem going back on the Seahawks, and I think that I've decided, Jeff, they're a much better team and more fun to bet on when they're an underdog than they are as a favorite.
100%. They wore them down here on my fantasy the last week of the regular season. I got Dunter Foreman, 21 touches, 70-something yards. And, of course, Chuba Hubbard and the rookie Blackshear both scored. No Hubbard, no Foreman there. But Darnold threw for 21 yards in the second half. It was just run left, run right up the middle. So,
well, I said to somebody, anybody know who is this Sam Darnold and what the hell have they done here at this quarterback position? I don't think it's Sam Darnold out there. My friends were like, dude, just wait till the second half when he's not even throwing the ball. And like you just said, it's not like Sam Darnold was even anything to be right home about. He was just handoff all half long. So that was frustrating, but I do think. And so you're seeing 4s right now. I saw some 3.5s earlier. I'm gonna have to lock in 4.
Let me see if I'll give you the latest. Do I see 3.5? A couple spots trending to go down. What I like to say to people, and everyone is themselves here. 3.5. If it lands on 3, it's at 43. Vegas is saying right now San Fran 23-20. But in my eyes, just in case it got to 24-20, what I do is I will buy the hook if I don't have a 4 from 3.5 to 4, and I'll sprinkle a little something on the money line.
I've learned that from you. You got to save a little for the sprinkle. You got to do it.
Before we get into it's a short slate. It's 3 games, Andrew. I was watching hockey last night, and I was watching some of these, records start to come up, and I'm like, And I was going to ask you, the first question I was going to ask you, it seems like there's almost going to be a changing of the guard. We both know the Bruins got off to such a hot start. Vegas got off to a hot start. And then I'm just looking at, Bruins got 23 wins. Vegas has got 21. And then I'm looking here. The Jets quietly have 18 wins. The Penguins, 17. Panthers have done nothing. The Stars now have 17. The Lightning now have 18. The Devils, who got off to that hot start, now they're down. They got 21. The Hurricanes quietly 16-6-6. The Kraken 16-9. Bruins tomorrow will play the Kings at 15-12-5. My question to you: are we starting to see the teams that we kind of expected to do better, that got the slow start, slowly chugging up? Can we expect some Bruins, Devils, and Vegas regression? Obviously, we know the Avs are all banged up, and I'm looking at their lines, and I'm just like, oh my God. The blind person is like, you're giving me Colorado plus 150 at home against the Bruins, and of course the Bruins went 4-0, and then the Rangers come into town. The Rangers were minus 140 against the Avs. So what are you seeing right now in the NHL?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with you backstage about how not just really some of these teams starting to fall off, but also that some of the bad teams in the NHL are very bad right now. I know that sounds like very cliche to say, but when you're looking at your Columbuses of the world, your Anaheim Ducks of the world, those are teams that more often than not you want to be fading, and you don't want to ignore sometimes the obvious play, is what I've been trying to tell myself sometimes. And you don't want to get caught up making the same favorite wager every night. But you know what? Some teams like that, they're like Chicago. I mean, they can't wait till the trade deadline to try and get as much value as they can on some of these guys. They're probably going to continue to sell off, and there's certain situations you want to fade those. But I've been impressed. Like, who I've been impressed with lately? The Washington Capitals. They are sitting at 15-12 in the season. And, 3 or 4 of those 15 wins have just come over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, Jeff. They didn't have a great start, really, overall. The Panthers are a team you just mentioned. I think they're a team that's ready to get going, ready to get hot. Let's not forget, they've had kind of a change of the guard, like a little bit of a change of strategy. They're trying to play more of a chippy style of hockey, win by scoring some more garbage goals, win some more low-scoring games. It was not easy for them to lose Huberdeau, I think. I also, as much as I think it was a weird trade, and I do think that they lost it, I think it makes sense for them to get Matthew Tkachuk and change things. So they're a team I'm looking to bet on a lot more. And honestly, the Lightning are third place in the East, I believe.
Yeah, because
in the Atlantic.
Toronto's had a great start.
Yeah. I think the Lightning, as weird as it sounds, have gone underrated, have been underrated this year. I know that sounds kind of funny because they've had a good season, but do you hear anybody talking about them right now? I don't hear anybody.
Zero.
Yeah. It's weird. You look at social media, NHL Network, ESPN, TSN. Do people forget this team's gone to the Cup Finals 3 straight years, and they haven't really changed their team much? And guess what? Kucherov's not really that old. Braden Point's not really that old. These guys aren't really, they are prime. And you know what? We're definitely going to get a Leafs and Lightning rematch again, first round. You definitely know that. I'd love to see a Bruins Leafs, but I'm not sure that'll happen. But you take a look at some of these teams that are, they're big teams, but not really, the top. Like, I think the Penguins will start to play a hell of a lot better than they already have, and they've already looked pretty good. I don't think that who's talking about them right now?
No.
They're in the same position in their division that the Lightning are in their division, and nobody's talking about those two teams. And from a betting standpoint, because of course that's what we're trying to do here, you actually continue to get pretty good prices on them. Like, you look at their game against Buffalo. They beat Buffalo back-to-back games. Whether it was money line or puck line, you were getting some pretty good prices on them. And over in the West, I wanted to mention this. I'm pulling up some websites here. DraftKings. So right now you can get Dallas 18-1 to win the Cup. Winnipeg is 35-1 on DraftKings, which is unbelievable. The LA Kings, here's one I wanted to mention to you. 45-1. The LA Kings.
Can you please tell me what the Wild are?
The Wild are they're above that. That's the thing. They're 28-1.
Because that was the one that we talked before the season started that looked fishy to me. I think they were 14 or 17-1 and did not get off to a good start, playing better of late, but they're at 28-1.
Yeah, 20. It doesn't the, I mean, I don't really even like the Winnipeg Jets, but hey, they've proven me wrong all year long. Doesn't that number seem weird for them?
Sure.
Like, isn't that almost a number you'd want to have in your back pocket just to see how they do? Because they are a team with a good goaltender and a good team that could do well in the playoffs. Like, I was going to say I'd love to go into the playoffs as one of these big numbers, but wouldn't everybody that bets on games, But like the Dallas Stars, I'm sorry, but I just think that number is ridiculous to get on them at 20. What is it? Yeah, 18-1. The way that they play, how good their goaltender is, you know how they are in the playoffs. They'll sit there and beat you 1-0 if they have to. I don't know. It's interesting. I have no interest. You take a look at all these. Let's take a look. I mean, for everybody watching right now, Bruins right now 5-1. We've got Avalanche plus 550. Leafs, of course, they're up there 8-1. Knights 9-1. Take a look at a team like the Calgary Flames at 16-1. Look at how they're playing right now. They're playing horribly. They're not playing good hockey right now, and they're 16-1. I don't think they should be 16-1, but I also think that if they were playing much better, they would be a lot lower. This is the time of year where you don't want to be putting in futures and the team's playing well right now. Anybody that bet the Devils to win the cup like last week, I'm sorry, but I'll take your action. I think this is the time of year where you want to bet on teams that are kind of falling below the radar. Like, imagine if Florida wins in the first round, how much different their odds will be.
100%. And that was the Leafs versus the Lightning last year. When I was breaking down the brackets, I was like, okay, Panthers and Leafs, they're both going to win in the first round, because the Leafs opened up minus 135. And I was like, Vegas is making a statement here. We know the Leafs can't get out of the first round. In come the defending cup champs. And I'm like, I'm all in on this Leafs team. And then I had the future for them or the Panthers to win the East and then get to the cup, obviously, and face off against the Avs. And it was funny listening to the experts. How can you bet the Avs to win the West? How can you bet them to win the cup? Well, you're giving me plus money. They're hands down the best damn team. So don't yell at me. And then when I cashed the ticket, they were nowhere to be found. But my point was, you were going to get that Florida Leafs matchup in the second round, and one of them was going to prevail and face off against the Carolinas. So I'm like, I'm all set here. And then, of course, the Leafs are the Leafs. I had no Lightning. I had egg on my face, and they won those first two rounds. And I'm like, oh my God.
What about this, Jeff? Am I crazy to say this? And I'm sure my Leafs buddies would be happy to hear me say this. If you like the Leafs to come round one in the playoffs, why wouldn't you just bet them to win the conference? That's how I feel. If they get over that hump,
no doubt.
Why would you bet them to win their series? Because then they only have to win two more series after that, and they're probably going to be favorites in those rounds, unless they're playing the Bees.
Well, that's the whole thing. If they face the Bees in the second round, if that ever happened, they can't beat them. It's just, we just know that. But you are spot on with the Leafs. If and when they win the first round, they're going to the cup. The monkey is finally off their back, and you're going to watch them, and you're going to think it's Messier and Gretzky out there. I mean, it's just like with Grant Fuhr behind the pipes. I mean, they just got to get through that first round.
But you know what, though? The thing is that I get these jokes from people, and it's very true. I'm not going to hide from what they say, that I'm always paying attention to Maple Leaf stuff. Look, I probably know most about the Habs and the Leafs out of every team in the league. But that's also because I live on the far east coast of Canada, where those are the two teams that get covered the most, besides the Senators. But who's talking about the Senators? Come on now, let's be honest here, right? So if you look at it, this is the problem. What is everybody talking about right now with the Maple Leafs? Mitch Marner's point streak. What about last year? What were they all talking about? Matthews' goal streak, right? What about Pierre Engvall or Alex Kerfoot? How are those guys doing? Because to me, those are the difference makers in the playoffs. And I mean this. If you're a Maple Leafs fan, you shouldn't even care what Matthews and Marner do during the regular season. You should be cheering for the third line to do something. You should be cheering for a random fourth line, forward to be contributing. Because when it comes down to it, the Boston Bruins right now have the best third line in the league. The 2 years the Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup, they had the best third line in the league. Would you believe me if I told you that? Because that's what makes a really good team.
And that's always been the Bruins' problem, is they could come playoff time, when their first line isn't scoring, they had struggled on the second line and they didn't have a third line. And TJ just asked, Andrew, any chance you have a cousin, Joe Feeney?
I do not. I saw that. I was about to go on the YouTube and answer. I do not. Where's he from? I got to know now.
I know you're short scheduled. There's 3 games on the board. Your Canadians at Ottawa. Ottawa now up to minus 200 and more with a 6.5. Red Wings at Minnesota. Minnesota now minus 250 with a 6. And the best game on the board, I think, is Vancouver at Calgary. As you said, Calgary not playing well. Overnight minus 155. Now up to 175, 180, even 190 at DraftKings with a 6.5.
Look, I mean, the Montreal Canadiens, I think they keep being mispriced, but people have to understand that they don't really care about the performance, the odds makers. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm always learning from you, Jeff, but the odds makers will continue to price this like this because people are continuing to bet against them.
100%.
Right? They're getting the action. And I think people don't understand that. And I'm never trying to be that guy, but based on my knowledge, that's kind of how it works. People are like, wow, the odds makers aren't adjusting. It's like, no. They understand what's going on. People are still betting against them. It's not the odds makers that are idiots. It's people that are betting, and no offense to anybody, but that's how it works, is that the odds makers don't care about how a team is doing. Anyway, so one thing I wanted to point out is that the backup goaltender, Sam Montembeault, is confirmed for tonight, Jeff, for the Habs. And Jake Allen, after like a 1 or 2 game slump, a couple games, he's back playing really well again. He's had back-to-back performances against Calgary where he stole the game, played very, very well. But the Habs actually, as far as expected goal numbers, they squeaked out a shootout victory against Calgary last game. They had 5.58 expected goals last game. To have nearly 6 expected goals in a game is very, very rare. They're scoring right now. And we're getting a team total over 2.5 at minus 120. I want to take the money line, but I'm 100% betting the team total over 2.5. I could see this game being a goal fest. I could see us, getting goals from both teams. Montembeault has been a good goaltender, but it's, the most impressive thing for me about this Canadiens team this year hasn't been Caulfield, hasn't been Suzuki. It's been that they've got 4 young defensemen that are playing like they've been in the league for 5 years already. And it's hard to sustain that. I can't see him sustaining it. And against a team like Ottawa that plays very crafty, they got a lot of young guys. They pass the puck around all fancy. It could be a team that could take advantage of these young defensemen. So I'm just going to stick with goals as far as the Canadiens are concerned at minus 120, over 2.5 on the team total goals, and expect Montreal to get to 3. Maybe I'll do a little sprinkle, like you always say, with the money line with the Canadiens, but I think they're right in this game. Ottawa, look, they did beat the Rangers at one point. I believe they beat Nashville, but the Rangers were slumping. Nashville can't score against anybody. And, oh, yeah, they beat the East Coast League team, the Anaheim Ducks. So I don't really think that really matters that much. I had the under in that game, the Sens and Ducks game, and, I think it finished 3-0. So I like the team total over for Montreal there. And I don't really have much as far as that next game, but the late game, I like the Calgary Flames to get it done, but I like the over 6.5 a lot more. Markstrom had a couple good games after he had a quote saying, "I suck at hockey." He ended up having did you see that quote, Jeff? Yes. Markstrom saying that? That was hilarious. But you see the way that they played. They're playing well defensively, but they just couldn't find the back of the net. Kadri, Huberdeau, they're playing well, but believe it or not, Calgary used to be a really deep team, and right now we're not really seeing that from them. But I think that they're going to finally start to find the back of the net against a team like Vancouver. Let's be honest, they've got a disgraceful defensive core, a goaltender that can't really create a solid save. He's always giving out rebounds, and I think that really, like I said, there were 6 expected goal chances for Montreal based on a couple different advanced numbers, and they only scored a handful. I think Calgary's actually been playing better defensively than their numbers on the score sheet indicate. That game should see some goals. And I wouldn't be surprised if Calgary takes a lot of anger they have out right now on Vancouver. I see a game like something like 5-3 for the Flames tonight.
My eyes have already been on that one for a while. I'm seeing a 3.5 team total over minus 110 right now. So there's no pluses or minus. I like to try to grab a little meat on the bone on the plus side. Yesterday, obviously, we had the Jets team total over 3.5 against Vegas at plus 125, and was able to grab some meat on the bone there. And as we talked behind the desk here, how in holy hell the Sharks don't get? Are you kidding me? Oh, my MG. I mean, it's expected, but, I'll just tell all the ECSI VIPs and anyone listening that wants to listen, special teams, whatever sport, they suck for us. It doesn't matter. Number one. Number two, if you're expecting an empty net, when I get one, you'll see my timeline blow up because I don't get empty nets. I do not.
You know what, though? I know that people don't like to hear this, but I think you had the right side. You had the right play. They had so many goals already, and it was more than halfway through the game. But that third period, the thing with the San Jose Sharks is it looked like they almost played. They played for the 1-goal win almost. Once they had the lead, they were like, "All right, we're good." And as a team total better, you're like, "You're not good. Give me one more goal." I need
I,
one more.
I'm following the live line, and it was 7.5 over. Then it was 6.5 over, minus 175. It's like, all right, we're at least getting to 7. Basic math says they're getting to 4, if not 5. And then the game's going on, and then you get it to 3-2. I'm like, well, now I'm getting the empty netter. All right. And I'm just like pulling my teeth out. I was like, are you kidding me?
It's tough. It happens a lot. What do you think about those plays I was talking about? Are you with me on that? I mean, we talked about this a bunch of times together before, but um, the amount of times I've played these team totals for the Habs and won when they've lost the game equals out the amount of times that I've played that and they've also won the game. And why don't you play the money line? Why don't you play the money line? I've heard that so many times from people, but when it comes down to it, the Senators could win the game tonight 5-3 and I come out on top. And to me, that's all I really care about.
And you'll get you're going to get the people that whine, because I want to pull up the number for you here just to see what that number is. They'd say to you, Andrew, see, it's minus 142. If you like Montreal that much, why don't you take them plus the goal and a half? And then I talk to you and say, listen, why would I take them plus a goal and a half at minus 142? Well, then why don't you take the over? Well, because I can get the over 6.5 right now, and that would be probably plus 2 cents. It's right now under 118. You might get it at even money, where you said, hey, I'll lay the 20 cents. I think they can get to 3, no problem.
And you know what I liked is that they created a lot of offense from, I mean, I know I feel like I'm a broken record. I always talk about, non-top players. I liked that last game. They saw a lot, even though Anderson, is sort of a top guy. Suzuki played well and stuff, but I follow this team very closely, Jeff. They got production out of the fourth and third line, which is what I want to see, which is what I'm looking for if I'm betting on a team's team total. Obviously, you can get a team total when it's just the first line scoring. You don't care which line scores, but I'd like to be betting on a team total for a team that's getting production out of all kinds of lines. The one thing I will say that bothers me, the Canadians have now officially moved to 32nd in the league in power play percentage. Their power play is not good. It makes me want to rip my hair out watching it. And that's what's his name? Alex Burrows, former Vancouver Canuck. That's his job on the team as the assistant coach, and he's not doing very well. But that's all I really want to mention as far as that. You hate to see that there as far as the power play, because as you know, I mean, you talked about it with me about the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers alone, they can be a team that you bet their team total, their power play is so good they could lose the game, 6-4 and still somehow cash your team total. And that's what's great about a team like that.
And that's what we've been doing here. We've had great success, is those team totals, grabbing the plus money when we can, like last night, and what we've been doing tonight. As you said, a minus 20 cents to get to 3. Calgary, a minus 10 cents to get to 4. And it's the good thing is when you get to 3, well, someone's got to get to 4. So it doesn't matter how you get it. And again, with the Canadians, that fits right up my alley, because I told you I couldn't get a special teams goal anyways. If it was 5-on-1, I wouldn't score. So it doesn't matter.
Well, the Habs had a 5-on-3 or a 4-on-3 power play in overtime, and they couldn't score. That was frustrating. And it was a 4-minute penalty. And that was frustrating to watch. Thank God they ended up winning in a shootout. Suzuki, he's 4 for 4 in the shootout so far this year. All 4 tries, the exact same move.
It won't be on the 5th one, though. It won't be on the 5th one. The scroller has been going the whole time, Andrew. Anyone that's not following you, please follow him at McInnis Picks. You can get his work at Wager Talk, at Sports Mayflower. Go over to YouTube. Go to Mayflower Sports, subscribe for free. Andrew, tell them what you got going this week, this weekend, the rest of 2023, Christmas, New Year, whatever you got going.
Yeah, Jeff, I've got a very low volume as far as college hoops go. I have a big play tonight on college hoops. The last time I had it, this is my second big play of the season so far. Last time I had a big play, it pushed. So I'm hungry for a win in college hoops as far as a big bet's concerned. The 5%, which is our top rated pick. So grab that at Wager Talk. And right now we do have a nice deal going as far as the NHL is concerned. You can use promo code NHL150 to take $150 off. I'm on a 11-2 short-term run and 23-7 longer-term run in the NHL. So we're picking up.
I never doubted you.
I was sending you losers for a long time. We were exchanging plays, and all of a sudden now I'm sending you winners. So it's nice that you don't think I'm only losing, because I was on a tough losing streak for a while.
Next Wednesday, we'll play this back. We'll catch you before the holidays if both schedules align. We'll see what happens on the New Year's, the last week of 2022. That is before
and then World
the
Juniors,
New Year. And then we get the World Juniors. So. Thanks, everyone that watched and listened. If you came in late, jump on over to YouTube, Twitch, or wherever you find your podcast to replay this. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone watching and listen. Come follow me at EC Sports Invest on Twitter. Go follow Andrew at McInnis Picks. 4:30, 4 o'clock, somewhere around there, the closing bell with Riley. We'll get everyone set to the window. Andrew gave out some great sharp plays in hockey today. The ECSI VIPs. The alert will come out sometime this afternoon. Otherwise, behave yourself. Stay in your lane. It's Christmas time. 'Tis the season. See you soon.